I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in the lead up to what is certainly going to be the next big war we're about to have in the Middle East, the establishment is attempting to rebrand former President George W. Bush by having him go on every leftist liberal TV show, talk show they can find, and joke around and laugh about his book of paintings commemorating veterans, you know, like the ones that he sent thousands of to die in a war in Iraq that he openly admitted he had a hard time connecting to the actual war on terror.
One of the hardest parts of my job is to connect Iraq to the war on terror.
1 million civilians died, but I guess since it's been 15 years now and the system really wants to divide people, now he's just going to go do the rounds.
His new book is called Portraits of Courage. Please welcome President George W. Bush.
Dance on Ellen and sketch with Jimmy Kimmel.
It's sickening, and when Obama was sworn in January 2009, Bush came out at the inauguration, and he was roundly booed. Everyone booed.
The introduction is thus moments away.
That's a surprise. We are hearing some booing, and that is a surprise.
Bad form here.
That is not what I expected.
Because that's how badly a sitting president exiting office was hated after all the things he did during the war on terror, in the wake of 9/11, the lies about the war. Everywhere you look, they were building up a police state. They were destroying things that were constitutional and based on rights, and they were just taking over with lies, and all that is being quietly swept under the carpet. Now he's just another celebrity.
W. Bush was asked about the bleak tone of Trump's remarks and didn't seem to take it all too seriously.
You sat at the inauguration, you listened to President Trump's inaugural address, and he talked about American carnage.
Yeah.
And the fact...
He's either laughing at the phrase American carnage or remembering how much trouble he had at the inauguration with his poncho.
Remember this? President Bush's unforgettable battle with a poncho.
Poncho was a problem. It seemed, had you put a poncho?
You tried to put the poncho on. The poncho. Yeah, we noticed that actually, yeah.
So you actually have all these people who would have voted for Hillary Clinton. Now they're out there saying they wish they could high-five George Bush, and aren't his paintings just great? It is the weirdest thing ever. It is like we entered the Twilight Zone.
High-fiving this guy who obviously should have been impeached, and who at least on his watch so many horrible and disgusting things were done.
Like him, I like the fact that I like George Bush now is what I'm trying to say here.
It really is like we're watching The Matrix or something. The level of brainwashing that we're seeing happen here. They're getting everybody on either side to basically go back on everything they ever stood for. It is the creepiest mind control experiment I've ever seen in my life.
And the public will probably go along with it. I don't remember who sent me this. It was on, I don't know, a Facebook forum or something. The Congress for Cultural Freedom back during the Cold War was a CIA front that did basically nothing but buy off and get free promotion through celebrities and musicians and artists that they owned. But they didn't get conservatives who were for staunch Americans. They actually got a lot of leftists so that they could counter the outright communist Marxist thing and control a fake left through the CIA. And this was exposed along with COINTELPRO and everything else that came out in the 60s and 70s.
The US government, through its intelligence and espionage arm, poured huge resources into a cultural propaganda campaign. The CIA was in effect acting as America's hidden Ministry of Culture. The centerpiece of the CIA's Kulturkampf, or cultural struggle, was the Congress for Cultural Freedom. Honorary presidents were Bertrand Russell, Benedetto Croce, John Dewey, Carl Jaspers, Salvador de Madariaga, Jacques Maritain, and Reinhold Niebuhr. At its peak, the Congress for Cultural Freedom had offices in 35 countries, employed hundreds of personnel, published over 20 prestige magazines, including its flagship Encounter, held art exhibitions, owned a news and features service, organized high-profile international conferences, and rewarded musicians and artists with prizes and public performances.
And these tactics of celebrities spouting out talking points and phony leftists misleading huge groups of people continues because the CIA's Congress for Cultural Freedom later merged with the groups that became Soros's Open Society, of just entirely fake protest movements following fake issues and spending all their energy on things that don't matter. And what really does explain every major celebrity just roundly endorsing Hillary, she was the great one. Now they're suddenly embracing George W. Bush because they were sent a cue card with their guest for the day and told, you're going to praise George W. Bush. And in the end, as evidenced by this piece, learning to double think, learning to love what you once hated, learning to hold two contradictory opinions together in your mind, and just a complete mind